Chief Ajọ Mmadụ, please, this land is all my late husband left for me and my children. Have mercy on me. Have mercy. Have mercy.
How is that my business? I don't ever want to see you in this land. It now belongs to me.
In the restless city of Akata, one name carried fear like a shadow: Chief Ajọ Mmadụ. He was not just rich, he was ruthless. They called him the land grabber because every street in Akata had a story about him. A widow forced out of her home, a farmer who lost his inheritance overnight, a family that disappeared after refusing to sell their land. If Chief Ajọ Mmadụ wanted your property, he didn't negotiate, he swallowed it. People did not say his name loudly. They lowered their voices when they spoke about him. Some claimed he had connections in government, others believed he had friends in dark places. No one knew the full truth. What everyone knew was simple: fighting him meant losing everything. But for all his power, there was one thing he could not control. He had no legitimate son. His 3 wives lived in the same mansion, but peace never lived there. Each woman carried hope like a burden. They visited doctors in the city, they prayed in churches, they traveled to shrines outside of Akata. Nothing worked. Year after year, the house remained quiet. Then there was Temi, the only child he ever had, born to a young woman who died the day Temi came into the world. Chief Ajọ Mmadụ never forgave fate for that loss. Instead, he turned all his love towards the child. But his love was not gentle. It was excessive. Temi did not hear the word no. She did not wait in lines. She did not apologize. If she wanted a school changed, it changed. If she wanted a shop closed, it closed. If someone offended her, they soon regretted it. Akata adjusted itself around her, the way it adjusted around her father. Yet the city whispered something else. They said, a man who takes land from others forgets that the ground has memory, and memory is patient. As Temi grew older, her laughter became louder, her demands became heavier, her pride became sharper. Chief Ajọ Mmadụ believed he had secured his future through her. He did not see what Akata was seeing. He did not see that the child he raised without limits was becoming something he could no longer control. And somewhere beneath the soil he stole from others, something was waiting. Not for revenge, but for balance. By the time Temi turned 20, everyone in Akata knew her face. Not because she was kind, not because she was talented, but because she was Chief Ajọ Mmadụ's daughter. At school, teachers treated her differently. If she came late, nobody punished her. If she failed a test, her score changed quietly. When she argued with other students, the other students were the ones who apologized. Temi noticed this, and she liked it. At home, things were not different. Her father gave her anything she asked for: expensive phones, cars before she was old enough to drive, money without questions. If she complained about someone, that person soon had problems. One afternoon, Temi pointed at a piece of land near her favorite cafe and said it would be perfect for a new shopping plaza. The land belonged to an old teacher who had lived there for many years. He refused to sell. 2 weeks later, men arrived with documents claiming the land now belonged to Chief Ajọ Mmadụ. The old teacher left quietly. Temi watched as the house was pulled down. She did not feel guilty. That night, she told her father what happened. Instead of correcting her, he laughed. That is how the world works, he said. If you are strong, you take what you want. Those words stayed with her. Temi began to believe she could never lose. She spoke carelessly, she insulted workers, she embarrassed people in public. No one challenged her. But power without discipline grows quickly. One evening, at a party held in a building her father had recently taken from another family, Temi drank too much and stood in front of her friends. "This city belongs to us," she said proudly. People around her laughed and cheered, but not everyone was laughing. Among the workers cleaning up after the party was a young man whose family had lost their farmland to her father. He listened quietly. And for the first time, someone decided that fear was no longer enough. Temi did not see it coming, and neither did her father. The first sign of trouble did not look serious. It started with a video. At the party that night, one of Temi's friends recorded her while she was speaking loudly. In the video, she was laughing and pointing at the building around her. "My father can take any land he wants. Nobody can stop us." She did not know the video was posted online. By morning, the whole of Akata had seen it. People shared it in secret groups. Some laughed, some were angry, some said nothing but watched closely. For years, many had suffered quietly. Now they had proof of how the family truly thought. Chief Ajọ Mmadụ was furious when he saw the video, not because of what she said, but because it was public. He called Temi into his office. "For the first time, you have embarrassed me," he said calmly. Temi was surprised. No one had spoken to her like that before. "I only said the truth," she replied. "That truth should not be shouted," he answered. He ordered the video removed. Money changed hands, threats were made. By evening, most pages had deleted it. But once something enters people's phones, it does not disappear completely. In the market, traders talked about it. In schools, students whispered. Even some of Chief Ajọ Mmadu's business partners began to distance themselves quietly. Temi did not understand why everyone was suddenly looking at her differently. She went out shopping 2 days later and noticed something strange. The shop owners were polite, but their smiles were forced. No one tried to please her the way they used to. At home, her father became stricter. He reduced her outings. He stopped laughing at every story she told. Temi felt angry. For the first time in her life, something was slipping out of her control, and she did not know how to fix it. That same week, the old school teacher whose house was destroyed collapsed in public. People said it was stress. But when the news reached Temi, she felt something she had not felt before. It was small. It was uncomfortable, and she did not know its name. But it stayed with her, quietly. The court case did not scare Chief Ajọ Mmadụ. He had faced threats before. He had paid his way through bigger problems. What bothered him was something else. Temi had started answering back. It began the evening he cancelled one of her outings. "You are staying home," he said firmly. "Since when do you control me?" She replied without thinking. The room went silent. The three wives looked at each other. Chief Ajọ Mmadụ stared at a doctor as if seeing her clearly for the first time. "I control everything under this roof," he said slowly. Temi laughed. "No, you don't. I do whatever I want. You taught me that." The words hit harder than she expected. For years, he had encouraged her boldness. He had praised her when she stepped on others. He had told her strength meant taking what you wanted. Now that strength was standing in front of him, and it did not respect him. That same week, Temi made a decision without telling her father. She met with a real estate agent privately and signed documents to take over a piece of land her father had been negotiating for months. She wanted to prove she could act on her own. When her father found out, he was furious. "You used my name without permission," he shouted. "It is my name too," she answered. That night, their argument could be heard across the compound. For the first time, the servants saw something they had never seen before. The land grabber had lost control inside his own house. 2 days later, the real owner of that land came forward with proof of fraud. The case went public. This time, the accusations were not only against Chief Ajọ Mmadụ, they included Temi. Her face appeared in newspapers, her name trended online. The same city that once moved aside for her was now watching closely. And for the first time in her life, Temi understood something very clearly. Power borrowed from someone else can disappear overnight. The day everything began to change did not start with shouting. It started with laughter. Temi was celebrating her 20th birthday. The mansion was filled with music, food, and important guests from all over Akata. Politicians came, business partners came. Even people who secretly hated Chief Ajọ Mmadụ came because no one refused his invitation. Temi stood in the center of it all, wearing her emerald green gown, accepting gifts that cost more than most people's houses. She did not say thank you. She simply nodded and moved on. In the middle of the party, a security guard rushed in quietly and whispered something into Chief Ajọ Mmadu's ear. His smile disappeared. Temi noticed immediately. She had never seen her father's face look confused before. "What is it?" she demanded. He ignored her and stepped outside with 2 of his men. Minutes later, another guard entered the hall. This time, he did not whisper. He spoke loudly. "Sir, government officials are here." The music stopped. At the gate stood 3 black vehicles. Men in suits stepped out with files in their hands. Behind them were uniformed officers. They were not smiling. They entered the compound without greeting anyone. The leader opened the file and spoke clearly. "Chief Ajọ Mmadụ, we have a court order to review all properties acquired under your name over the past 15 years. There was murmuring everywhere. Temi laughed. "Review? My father owns half this city." The man looked at her calmly. "Not anymore." Documents were brought out. Stamps, signatures, legal seals. Several of the lands Chief had taken were proven illegal. Some signatures were forged. Some families had open cases that had been buried. Chief Mmadụ shouted, he threatened, he called names, but for the first time, nobody looked afraid. One officer stepped forward. "Sir, you will need to come with us." Silence fell over the mansion. Temi stepped in front of her father. "Do you know who he is?" The officer replied softly. "Yes, we do." They took him away in front of everyone. No shouting could stop it, no money could delay it. The guests began to leave quietly. Within 1 hour, the mansion felt empty. Temi stood alone in the large hall. For the first time in her life, no one moved when she spoke. Outside the gate, reporters had gathered, and in the restless city of Akata, people were not whispering anymore. They were watching. By morning, the news had spread across Akata. Chief Ajọ Mmadụ was in custody. The same people who once lowered their voices when mentioning his name were now speaking freely. Some celebrated quietly in their homes, some stood in groups on the streets, discussing the properties that might finally return to their rightful owners. Inside the mansion, the atmosphere had changed completely. Temi woke up to silence. No staff rushing around, no expensive breakfast prepared, no security men waiting outside her door. Her phone was filled with messages, not of support, but of questions. Some of her friends had already stopped replying. Invitations were being cancelled. Business partners were withdrawing. By afternoon, officials returned. This time, they did not come to speak. They came with documents. Several properties had been frozen. Bank accounts were under investigation. The mansion itself was under temporary review. One of the officers handed Temi a paper. "You have 72 hours to vacate this property until the investigation is complete." She stared at him. "This is my house," he replied calmly. "It is under review." For the first time, Temi did not have an answer. Her father's 3 wives locked themselves in their rooms, blaming each other. None of them offered comfort. None of them had power anymore. By evening, the electricity was disconnected. The large mansion that once shined at night sat in darkness. Temi walked through the empty living room slowly. Every chair, every painting, every chandelier had been bought with power she thought would never end. Now it felt temporary. The next day, as she stepped outside, cameras were waiting. A reporter asked loudly, "Do you have anything to say to the families who lost their land?" Temi opened her mouth. No words came out. Across the street, she saw a familiar face. The widow who once knelt before her father stood quietly, watching. Their eyes met. For the first time in her life, Temi felt something she had never allowed herself to feel before. Not anger, not pride, but shame. And in that moment, she understood something clearly. Her father had conquered the city, but he had not prepared her for the day it would no longer belong to them. And now, Temi would have to stand on her own ground, if she could find any left. Temi did not leave the mansion immediately. For 2 days, she walked from room to room, touching walls as if they would answer her. The silence was heavy. No music, no visitors, no one asking what she wanted. The 3rd day, movers arrived, not to bring furniture, to list it. They tagged chairs, tables, artwork, and cars parked outside. Everything was being recorded for investigation. Nothing felt permanent anymore. Her father was denied bail. That was the real shock. Temi had believed money could fix anything. A phone call, a transfer, a threat. But this time, nothing moved. Her friends stopped calling completely. The same people who once laughed loudly beside her now avoided her name. Invitations disappeared. Doors closed quietly. One afternoon, she stepped outside alone. No security followed her. She walked through Akata without sunglasses, without a driver, without anyone clearing the way. People noticed her immediately. Some stared, some whispered, some simply ignored her. She passed by a small roadside shop. The same widow stood there, arranging goods on a wooden table. The land that was once taken from her had been returned temporarily under government supervision. The widow looked up. Their eyes met. This time, Temi did not look away. She walked closer. The widow did not kneel. She did not greet her with fear. She simply waited. Temi swallowed. For once, she did not speak with pride. "I didn't understand before," she said quietly. The widow studied her face. "Understanding comes when power leaves," she replied. The words were not harsh. They were simple. Temi stood there longer than she expected. For the first time in her life, she saw the city without her father's shadow covering it. Children playing freely, vendors selling without panic, people laughing without lowering their voices. And she realized something painful. The respect she thought she had enjoyed was never respect. It was fear. As she walked back towards the mansion that was no longer truly hers, one thought stayed in her mind. If everything built on force can fall, then what can she build that will stay? The final day came quietly. Temi packed only one suitcase. Not because she did not own many things, but because most of them no longer belonged to her. The government seal remained on the mansion gate. Officials moved in and out freely now. The house that once controlled Akata was under control itself. Before leaving, Temi asked to see her father. The meeting room at the detention center was small and plain, no luxury. no special treatment. Chief Ajọ Mmadụ walked in slowly. For the first time in her life, Temi saw him without confidence. He tried to smile. "This will pass," he said. "I will fix it." She shook her head gently. "No, Daddy, you can't fix this." He stared at her. "They are returning the lands," she continued. "People are getting their homes back." His face hardened. "Those lands are mine." She held his gaze. "Were they ever?" Silence filled the room. For years, he spoke and everyone listened. Now his daughter was speaking and he had no answer. Temi took a slow breath. "You gave me everything except discipline. You protected me from consequences, but you never taught me how to stand without power." He looked away. "I have to learn that now," she said. When she stepped outside the detention center, the sun was high. The city was busy. Life was moving on. Weeks later, properties were officially returned to their rightful owners. Some forgave, some did not. Temi rented a small apartment on the other side of Akata. No guards, no servants. She found work assisting a legal aid office, quietly helping families understand their land documents. People were surprised when they saw her there. Some did not trust her. She did not argue. She did the work. Slowly, the whispers began to change. Not because she demanded respect, but because she earned it. In the restless city of Akata, Chief Ajọ Mmadu's name no longer carried fear, and Temi finally understood the lesson her father never did. Land taken by force will never stay, and a child raised without limits will eventually face a world that has them.